Welcome to Xara template tutorials for the Xara Web Designer 11 Premium software. This is lesson number 3, and in this lesson we're going to talk about web animations, which is a new feature in version 11 Premium. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you want to do is make sure you have some objects in your workspace created that we can animate. So first I'm going to select the letter A, and then I'm going to right click it, and then go to Web Animation. And that's going to bring up the Web Animation Properties dialog. And by default, you'll be under the mouse over tab, which is basically saying that you're going to have an animation that's going to occur when you place your cursor over the object. Okay, in this case, we have the letter A selected, which means that when we place our cursor over the letter A in the website, it's going to animate that object. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. And also, you'll always see the word selected object settings in the web animations property dialog at the top part of it when you're under the mouse over tab. Okay, and that's basically letting you know that the settings here within this first box is going to affect the selected objects that we select in our workspace. Okay, if we change the mouse over effect by clicking in this drop down menu to, for example, shake, it's going to cause that object to shake when we place our cursor over it, in this case the letter A. And to the right of that, we have control over the speed, and we can set that speed to normal, to fast, very fast, instant, or slow, or very slow, whatever you would like to set it to. The next thing we want to look at is the pop-up text. In this case, we can give the object some text to display as a pop-up text. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to write the letter A like that, it would show that as the pop-up text. The last option we have here is to show a pop-up layer, which in this case, I don't have any extra layers to show as a pop-up layer, so there would be nothing to select from here. And as you can see, if I click on the drop-down menu, there's no options. Okay, so we're going to just ignore that for now, and we can deal with that in another tutorial. So let's go ahead and look at the next section. In this case, it says Document Default Settings. So basically what this is saying here is that if we set a mouse over effect here, it's going to apply this as the default settings for every object that has a mouse over. So if you have an object that has a mouse over that doesn't have a individual animation, which in this case we're applying an individual animation to the letter A by setting a shake animation to it, in that case it's not going to have the mouse over effect that's part of the default settings. So think of it like this. The document default settings is the fallback animation for a mouse over. So if you have a animation applied to an individual object, it's not going to have the mouse over effect that's set for the document default settings. But if we don't have an animation for an object that has a mouse over, it's going to default back to the document default settings. So hopefully that makes sense. But again, you can change the speed of that if you click in the drop down menu, just like you can for individual objects, and you also can change the type of animation by clicking in the mouse over effect menu. So let's go ahead and hit apply, and then go ahead and hit F5. So now let's go ahead and place our cursor over the letter A, and you can see that it shakes and it shows the letter A. So every time we place our cursor over that, it's going to shake and show the letter A. And those were the settings that we placed inside of our animation properties. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our document here. This time, let's go ahead and select 2 objects. And this is going to allow us to animate 2 objects at once. So you don't have to animate each object individually one at a time. So if we select 2 objects and select a animation mouse over effect, let's say we choose bounce, and we leave it to a normal speed, and we'll say in this case we're going to not add a pop-up text, because if we do, it's going to apply it to both of those objects. So let's just go ahead and hit apply, and then hit F5. And if I place my cursor over the letter B, you see that it bounces up and down. If I place it over the letter C, it bounces up and down with a bounce effect. So let's go ahead and close that out. So the effects of the animation can be applied to multiple objects at once. But whenever you want to show pop-up text, I recommend that you do it individually for each object, because in most cases you're not going to have the same pop-up text for multiple objects, okay? So let's go ahead and click over to the next tab here, which is Click Touch. And basically what Click Touch allows you to do is to click on an object and cause it to trigger an animation. So let's say, for example, we want the letter C to not, trigger an animation on mouse over, but instead trigger an animation on the click or touch. And when it says touch, it's referring to if you're on a touch device like an iPad or a Samsung tablet. If you're on one of those devices, you would actually be touching the screen rather than clicking with your mouse button on your keyboard. Okay, so that's what the two things are referring to in regards to click and touch. So the click effect for this selected object, which is the letter C, and again it says selected object settings, so this is going to apply that to only this object, not to your default settings. Okay, so if we click in the drop down menu and we choose rubber band, we'll leave it at normal speed and we'll hit apply, hit the keyboard shortcut F5, and that's going to bring up the preview. And if we click on, and I'm sorry, it looks like I still have the settings set for the mouse over effect. I'm glad I made that mistake actually. If you don't turn off the mouse over effect, it's still going to happen when you place your cursor over it. So it's important that you set that to none, hit apply, and then go back to click touch, and you should still have the same settings. So let's go ahead and hit F5. And when you hit F5, if you place your cursor over the letter C, it doesn't animate. If we click on it, you'll see that it goes through the animation process. But if we place our cursor over it, nothing happens. But if we click on it, it will animate. Okay? So just to recap, make sure that if you apply an animation for the mouse over, that you remove it if you're going to add a click touch, because if you place your cursor over that animation, if you place your cursor over that object, it's going to animate, and then you'll have to click to do the next animation. Okay, so very important that you turn off the animations that you don't plan on using. In this case, I had the mouse over animation still going with a click touch animation, so keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and go to the next tab, which is reveal. And the reveal animation will only work once the object is within view. So let's say, for example, I move the letter C down, further down the page, and we're going to make sure we turn off the click touch animation because we don't want that enabled. And we'll hit apply. We'll go back to reveal, and we'll set it to a slide in from right and hit apply. Okay, and this is going to slide that animation in from the right. Okay, and it even explains it to you here. A reveal animation runs when the object comes into view in the browser window. So if it's not in view, it's not going to appear. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit F5, and you'll see that it comes in because it's actually within view already. But if we were to extend our page, let's say that we made our page a little bit longer, and we move the object letter C further down the page and hit F5 to preview, you'll see that it doesn't appear. But if we scroll down the page, you'll see that once it's in view, it will slide in from the right. Okay? Now, if you wanted to, you could have it do that every single time, or you could have it appear just only one time, which is the once only option here. So let's go ahead and hit F5 to preview that again. And let's scroll to the bottom of the page, and you see that the letter C will slide in from the right. But if we scroll back up and scroll back down, it'll slide in from the right again. So let's go ahead and go back to our workspace, and let's click the once only option and hit apply, and hit F5 to preview it. If we scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see that the letter C object slides in from the right, but if we scroll up and scroll back down, it's still in the same position. So by selecting the once only option, it makes the animation only appear once when it comes into view, rather than multiple times. So depending on what you're trying to accomplish, you may want to adjust those settings to your particular needs. So some other things that you control as well is the seconds, how long it takes for it to slide in from the right, which is the time seconds here. And also you can choose how long it will delay, and you can set the seconds for the delay time. Okay? We're not going to really talk about a trigger object name. We can talk about that in another tutorial, but I wanted to just give you guys a brief introduction to how to use the mouse over animations, the click touch animations, and the reveal animations, okay? And hopefully this video was helpful in helping you to do that and understand some of the basics of how to use those animations. If this video was helpful, don't forget to embed, comment, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for future tutorials from Xara Template. Have a great day.